prayers, blessings upon you at this anniversary time and anniversary celebration. It's with great fondness that we remember our time there at Boiling Springs. You know, all pastors should always be ready, like really all of us, to proclaim the gospel. And pastors should always be ready with a sermon kind of in their back pocket. Old pastors used to call it their sugar stick. You know, that sermon that they could preach anytime, anywhere, and any place. I think that all of us as Christians should be, have that witness ready at any time. And it's good to have, a specific Bible stories that are faithful to the gospel and that are easy for people to understand. One of my favorite stories is the story of the Samaritan woman at the well in the 4th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus spends time with this woman who is an outcast. This woman who's not even welcomed by her own community. And that story really is the genesis of the name Springs of Grace. I can remember arriving at the community and some people showing us around. They even took us down to the Boiling Springs, right there in front of the Bilo. It may not be a Bilo anymore. But there's some stones down there and there's water. And I could just imagine that maybe Jacob's well started that way. And as the community grew, they dug a deeper and deeper and deeper well to provide for the community. And we always felt great welcome as we arrived there. It's hard to believe, 22 years ago, to begin the time of preparation for the first service and then the opening of the charter. So many firsts that happened there at the very beginning. A very welcoming place it was, and I'm sure that you all are holding that tradition, the tradition of the gospel, the tradition of Jesus, always welcoming people, no matter the situation and no matter who they are. In fact, I can remember early on, we would have visitors. Some would come back and some wouldn't. And I can remember some of the visitors, they would come back and they would say, I talked to my friend this week about coming to your church. And they would say things like, well, are you sure that Lutherans are Christians? And I had to kind of almost reassure them that yes, we proclaim that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. And of course the huge cross that stood over the altar there at Giles Drive. So many memories come to mind, the memories of the koinonia meals that we would share on the 5th Sunday, where instead of 2 services, we'd have the 1 service, and the back area would just be filled with all kinds of dishes, and we would share in time with one another. I can remember we built a couple of classrooms, we built an office, we built a very large nursery, and sometimes there'd be so much noise out of that nursery that it would be hard to worship. But they too were making a joyful noise to the Lord. I can remember the partnerships of some of the churches in the area, particularly the Episcopal Church, as we did Vacation Bible School together for a number of years. We had a few people, they had a few people. They had a building, we didn't really have a building to speak of in terms of being able to play outside. And so we worked together to proclaim the gospel. And so I wish you well, and I pray for your continued faithfulness as you celebrate this anniversary and you look forward for many years of proclaiming the gospel. Those early days, some afternoons I would go out knocking by myself, and other afternoons Jenny and Isaac and Hannah would go with me as we were introducing ourselves and inviting people to Springs of Grace. And I can remember one of Isaac's words was, Dad, it's good that we do this because there's so many people who don't know, and if we don't tell them, they might not ever hear about Jesus Christ. And so I pray that you all would continue to be a welcoming place, a place like Jesus who welcomes any and all who are seeking the good news of Jesus Christ. And so blessings to you, and much thanks and many blessings. One final story that comes to mind is I heard that unfortunately you've lost the charter. And so I had a little kind of first charter that I gave to your pastor a couple of weeks ago, because on the day in which we were going to open the charter, it snowed. And only a few families showed up, and that's the families that showed up that's on that small charter. If there are other charter members that are still there, I encourage you to go ahead and sign in those blank lines of that charter. For that's a living document as a community of faith, chartered on the cross, chartered on the gospel and on the good news. And so again, God's blessings to you.